Wizards of the Coast just revealed a collab with Street Fighter. So now we have 8 brand new legends ready to be commanders. I don't do set reviews anymore, but I still want to do a deep dive on these cards. So here's how I'd build these commander decks. Starting in WUBRG order, we have E Honda, Sumo Champion. I love a good toughness based deck. One of the first commanders I ever built was Doran the Siege Tower. I think this card would be great in the 99 of any deck that cares about toughness. But since he only has one color, it makes it kind of hard to build around him. Not impossible though. White gets tons of creatures with low power and high toughness. His second ability is really cool, which makes me think that if we're building this into the 99, that second color has to be green or blue. White has been getting card advantage recently, so we can work with that with him as the commander. This is definitely one of those cards that's going to be more and more powerful as more sets come out. There are a few constants in Magic, and then printing big dumb creatures that have low power and high toughness in white is one of those. And then a new constant is them addressing card advantage in white. Like, we have Welcoming Vampire, which is a recent addition and is great for drawing cards. Moving on to Ryu, World Warrior. He has quite a few moving parts here. That training ability feels pretty dang useless. I would much prefer for him to have Mentor. The Hadouken ability is where this actually gets interesting. So let's break it down. The cost is 4 and a red. That's not unbearably high, but if we're wanting to do this more than once a turn, or if we want to do something else on our turn, we're going to have to dedicate some of this deck to ramp. Then we have the untap symbol, which means he has to be tapped in the first place for us to activate this ability. The easiest way to pull this off is just attacking with him, but that opens him up to removal and dying in combat. But we can address this problem in deck building. And there are a few other ways to tap Ryu without going into combat. And then the final part of this cost is to discard a card. We can really weaponize this by running cards with Madness, or we can run cards that care about being in the graveyard, or we can even run cards that recur stuff. This is all open to us. Alright, so we're through the cost now. What does the ability do? He punches something super hard, and if it does more than kill them, we get to draw a card. Super happy to see that draw card at the end there. That is definitely one problem Boros has, and I'm happy to see it. Being able to punch something really hard is great here, because we can deal with problem creatures or planeswalkers, but it can also work as a win con. It deals damage equal to Ryu's power, and since attacking with him is the best way to tap him, and we're going to dedicate a fair bit of this deck to pumping him up, this has to be Voltron. So now you can bash in and kill one opponent, and then untap and kill another. Overall, a very unique card and a very cool design. Next is Ken, Burning Brawler. Just like Ryu, he's in Boros, so it comes with its own limits. Prowess is definitely one of those abilities that can just get out of hand. You just have to make sure you're keeping track of it. The first strike ability is kind of irrelevant. I mean, the card wouldn't have access to white without it, so I guess that's good. The real appeal of this card is that last chunk of text. Whenever he deals combat damage, know how it's not limited by combat damage to players. We're alright with him hitting blockers, but because he cares about combat damage, we're definitely going into Voltron. When he deals combat damage, we get to cast a sorcery from our hand with a mana value equal to how hard we hit. Easy way to mess around with this is by giving Ken Double Strike. Now we get to cast 2 sorceries a turn. The next step to this is definitely extra combat cards. There are a few here that Ken will actually be able to cast himself, but we're just going to run as many as we can. In deck building, we have to note that he cares about sorceries, not instants. It's easy when skimming through card text to get that mixed up. A really broken thing we can do here is if we give Ken Indestructible. This way we can blow the board up every turn. And then a really fun synergy here is Neheb the Eternal. I love this card. He's probably in my top 3 red cards. And if we're doing bonus combats, he's great. The effect is cumulative, meaning if we're dealing 5 damage each combat, at the end of the first combat, we get 5 mana. At the end of the second combat, we get 10 mana, which works great with Ken. Next up is Blanka, Ferocious Friend. The first ability cares about us casting a bunch of cards. The second ability cares about us targeting Blanka a lot. I know it's a joke with this channel that I make a lot of Voltron decks. This guy really has to be Voltron. But he has a fun twist. Powering him up is going to be the main way we win here, but I really like the idea of spell slinging and Gruul. It's not usually something that's done without blue. We can burn him out with cards like Gutter Snipe and its clones. It's also noteworthy that that second ability cares about auras. So if we're going the Voltron route, we can go heavy with auras. We are going to need some decent card advantage to make sure we constantly have fuel, but there are some decent green cards that care about how big our creature is. And then one card that we definitely have to run here is Chandra's Ignition. In most decks it's just a board wipe, but here it can function as a win con, and it targets Blanka. Next we have Chun-Li, Countless Kicks. It's perfect that she has multi-kicker. She may only cost 3 mana, but we're not going to be casting her until much later in the game. We're going to have to ramp pretty hard just to catch up to her, and notably we have to make sure it's colored mana because her kicker cost is colored mana. Just like how Ken cares about sorcery, she cares about instants, so we have to be mindful of that when deck building. But it also means we can play a very responsive game and not have to cast cards until we need to. We need stuff in our bin, so we have to play self-mill. Self-mill can get out of hand from time to time, so I suggest we run Thassa's Oracle, Labman, and Jace. You don't have to run them if you don't want to, but it gives us a possible out. Self-mill isn't something that's often in white-blue, but it's not something they're ill-prepared for. Blue has plenty of ways to self-mill itself, and white has ways of taking advantage of stuff in our grave. Again, she's Voltron because she triggers on attacks. We really need to protect her, but she at least has a bit of built-in insurance herself. If you cast her and kick a bunch of things, and then someone blows her up, the second time you cast her, you still get the stuff that you kicked the first time. And with her being in Voltron, white-blue is probably the best 2-color combination you could ask for. After that is Dhalsim, Pliable Pacifist. If I were to build this card, it'd have to go in the 99, but the deck would still be rotating around him. That's because we really need him to have black so that this can be Spider Tribal. Think about it. We need creatures with reach, and that is such a big part of that creature type. Actually, if I'd want to build this, it would be Abzan, with Doran the Siege Tower as the commander, Spider Tribal, and this guy doing a bunch of work. And then we can also run E Honda for some extra fun. He also works as a fun casual commander of just Reach Tribal, but I recommend this Hidden Dhalsim deck more. Next is Guile, Sonic Soldier. How fitting that the guy with the Murica tattoo is red, white, and blue. I think design-wise, he's pretty open and shut. He wants to attack, so we suit him up so he can attack. And then we do the stuff with charge counters depending on how the board looks. He's in Jeskai, so that's a pretty great color combination for Voltron. I think the only thing that we can really do to mess around with him is proliferate or extra combats, but it really seems like you're putting in a lot of extra effort for not that much of a reward. Finally, we have Zangief, the Red Cyclone. I have wanted to build a fight deck for years. He can't lose a fight as long as it's our turn, and they've been printing a lot of one-sided fight cards recently. This card is deceptively powerful. Removal is something that is undervalued in Commander, and being able to 2-for-1 our opponents is great. Especially since we're going to be able to hit a lot of stuff with that sacrifice ability. Now, treasure tokens being popular makes this ability weak, but we can always go for the opponents that don't have treasure out. I really want to play Chandra's Condition with this guy. This is the perfect card to be based off of a fighting game. So there's how I'd build the cards for the Street Fighter Secret Lair. I think WotC has finally found a place where non-magic IPs don't feel totally out of place. It took a bit, but we're here. I know the community has welcomed these a lot more than they've welcomed like the Walking Dead cards, but my opinion remains the same. I'm not previously a fan of any of the IPs they've paired up with so far, but if they were to release an Avatar: The Last Airbender or a Justice League Secret Lair, I would be ecstatic. Before I sign off, I'm giving away a Slivdrazi Monstrosity at 3,000 subscribers. Tell a friend. So Street Fighter, what do you think? If you like this video, make sure to leave it a like, and if you're new to the channel, subscribe for more Commander content. What is a future universe beyond that you want to see Wizards of the Coast make? Thanks for watching, and don't forget to bolt your birds.